Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Me somewhere. So, if you get an opportunity, I would appreciate you clicking on the like if you like it, and subscribing if you want to, and apparently it'll help me out. Beyond that, hope you enjoy what I'm doing.
Well, the chances are pretty good that you've probably heard about a new law that's been passed in the state of Indiana. And that new law would allow the state to, well, turn some of our roads into toll roads, mainly the interstates. Now, is it a guarantee it's going to happen? No, because the state would still have to apply to the Washington bureaucrats to see if they would get approved for turning some Indiana highways into toll roads. But got me to thinking about a question. The current line was, well, there's not enough money coming in to support the roads, and that's why they need to raise a tax and create a toll road. So the two roads they mentioned in particular, one's horizontal, one's vertical. The vertical one is 65. Now that comes from Chicago and goes down south. It's a major thoroughfare. The second one is I-70, goes east and west. That comes from Ohio and then stretches across to Indiana. Because Indianapolis is sort of the center of a whole lot of stuff for roads and transportation in the United States. A lot of interstates come in, a lot of interstates go out. So Indy's the crossroads, and that's what they call it. Well, all right, here's the deal. So Governor Braun says, well, 70% of the traffic on I-70 down in Indianapolis is people out of state. They don't stop and get gas, they don't buy things, so they're using our roads for free, and it's not fair. They should be taxed for it. And they're saying that, well, in the next 15 years, they could raise, are you ready? $38 billion worth of revenue. And I'm thinking to myself, on two roads, $38 billion, that's $2.5 billion a year over 15 years, just using their numbers. Well, it got me to thinking also, what are they doing with the money they're getting now? How much are they getting now? Which got me to looking. Well, take a look at this chart. This is a chart showing the states with the highest state gas tax in America. And you'll notice California's number one with 57.9%, Pennsylvania number two, 57.6%. You wonder why gas is expensive in those states now, you know. Well, there's Ohio at 38.5 cents per gallon. This is a state tax. And look who's at number 10. Number 10 highest rate for the United States for the price of tax on gas, number 10, Indiana. 34 cents a gallon. You are paying tax to maintain the roads, right? That's where the money's supposed to be going, correct? So I did some more math. I said, okay, 34 cents a gallon. Let's say the average person gets 10 gallons a week. And they figure 15 miles a gallon if that's what they're running on. That's 150 miles. It covers them for the week. I'm using that number as my basis, okay? So, over a year's time, that would presume they're going to give the state of Indiana approximately $175 every year for gas taxes based on 10 gallons a week over a year period, $175. All right, we've got around 6 million people in the state of Indiana, and I'm going to say, maybe only 4 million of them drive. Okay, I'm using that number, then you can use whatever number you want. I'm using 4 million. Well, the 4 million, each contributing $175 per year. I'm using that number as a standard. Well, that's $700 million a year in gas tax going for the roads. Here's the question I'm asking. Where'd that money go? Is all the money being collected for gas tax to be used on the roads? Or is it being funneled off and used someplace other than roads to prompt them to say, well, we need to get more money for roads because we're already using the gas tax for something else? I don't know that answer. But you know what? Maybe the next time you see a legislature or a state senator in your neighborhood, maybe one living around you, ask him or her, hey, all that money you're collecting, the $700 million a year, and I'm using that as a guess, for the out of our gas tax, what are you doing with all that money? I mean, $700 million a year is a lot of money in my book, maybe not in yours, but They're wanting to raise now $38 billion over 15 years by taxing I-69 and I-70 because, well, they said on I-70, 70% of the people don't even live in Indiana. Well, if they're going to tax 65 and going to tax 70, couldn't they eventually tax 69? Couldn't they eventually put a poll tax on every single interstate? Is it possible? I'm asking the question. I don't know. But I can tell you this. I want to know where the money that we're already spending on the 34 cents per gallon tax that we're being paid, where is that money going? And I think that's a fair assessment anybody should be able to ask. Where's the money going, folks? And once we know that, maybe we can figure out, do we really need to put a toll booths on interstates? Just something from my perspective. Let's see what you think. Well, the latest hubbub out of Washington, D.C. involves former FBI Director James Comey. You remember him back in the first Trump era, back in 45 when Comey was the FBI Director? A lot of bad stuff that happened out against Trump back in that particular presidential season was involved with James Comey. Turns out that Mr. Comey's wife and his daughters were avid supporters of Hillary. And if his wife and daughters were supporters of Hillary, I'm guessing that probably he was too. But as a result, later on, during Trump's presidency back in 2017, he fired James Comey. James Comey then went in front of Congress and said Trump was doing a lot of bad stuff and essentially trying to destroy him in front of a congressional hearing. That happened later after he was fired. Well, James Comey has resurged his head once again into politics. I don't know where he is or what he's been doing since he left in 2017, but recently he posted on X, which is the old Twitter, a picture. And he said he was strolling down the beach. I don't know what beach it was strolling down the beach, and he happened to see a formation of shells writing in numerical letters. And the letters spelled out 8647. Now, some of you probably don't know what that means. But 86 is a term defined in the Webster Dictionary as to, quote, throw out, get rid of. But in more terms, when you 86 someone, that's a mafia term. That's a mafioso term that says you go 8 miles out and bury them 6 feet under. 86. And that's been used in police officers. That term has been around for a very long time. And 8647 and 47, who's the 47th president. So what the term is saying, assassinate Trump. That's what it says. Now, that's what Comey published in his X site. Well, ultimately he took it down, saying, "Oh, you know what? I didn't realize that had anything to do with violence. I am shocked. I'm stunned. I didn't know." Now, you're telling me that the former head of the FBI had no clue the term what 86 meant? I'm not a member of the FBI, and I know what it means. And I'm an average citizen, right? And you're telling me the former head of the FBI doesn't know the term 86? I'm going to 86 someone? I mean, that term's been around a while. It's listed in the dictionary. Get rid of, to dispose of, to cut. Mafia term 86, 8 miles away, 6 feet under. And he didn't know. So, now apparently there's an investigation going on against Mr. Comey. Did he imply assassinating the president? Can't tell you if he did or not. I don't know. He published that picture. He said it was the seashells had formed those numbers on the coast when he's walking on the beach. Who's to know? Could the seashells have magically formed an 8, a 6, a 4, and a 7? Who's to know? I'm just telling you that there's been assassinations against Donald Trump, 2 that we know of, right? The one that happened at the gathering, the political rally, and the one happened at the golf course, a gentleman laying in wait. Well, the problem has been Other presidents have been assassinated. I'm calling up JFK for one. The full information has still not been released on what JFK, how he was assassinated, why he was assassinated, and who did the assassination. And I'm beginning to think they're dragging their feet somewhere because some stuff there you don't want to know about. And if you did, you would be outraged. So it's just my observation. James Comey, is he guilty of pulling a hit on the president? Treason? Don't know. You can argue the seashells do magical things. But I can tell you this. It looks very, very suspicious. And for him to say, I didn't know, I didn't realize it, trust me, former FBI head, former law enforcement, if you don't know the term 86, you really shouldn't be in law enforcement because all of your brothers and sisters know exactly what it means. Just an opinion, and that opinion is mine. I don't know about you, but when the average guy thinks about what he's going to watch sport-wise on a Saturday afternoon, normally you think of, well, maybe college football, pro football. Heck, it could be maybe baseball. It's in the World Series on time. Or when Tiger Woods was playing golf, you wanted to watch a golf tournament Tiger was playing in. But, well, this year, 2025, I did something a little weird for, well, an average sports fan. I actually set my calendar so I could watch the season opening game of the Indianapolis Fury WNBA basketball team. Yeah, I did. Can't tell you why. Well, maybe I can't tell you why. Because I wanted to see what was going on with the phenom, the new phenom of women's basketball, Caitlin Clark. But beyond that, it's the opening game, the opening part of the season for 2025 because the women, well, they play pretty much in the summer when everybody's off. Yeah, there's baseball in the summer, there's some golf in the summer, but as far as looking for something to do, well, WNBA apparently is it. And this year might be a pretty interesting year. So I made some observations of the game I was watching on this Saturday. It was a spectacle. It was down in Indianapolis. 17,274 people jammed into the Bainbridge Fieldhouse for the 6th straight time to watch this team. Second year for Caitlin Clark. New other players were brought in. Whole new team, and you wanted to see how they function. Well, they were playing against their potential arch rival. Well, maybe not the team, the Chicago Sky, but the one team person on the team, Angel Reese. She was the lady in the NCAA championship against Miss Clark, who kind of said, "Hey, sweetie, I get in the ring, you're not." That you remember that? Well, so there was the rivalry right there. So you didn't know what was going on. But the game started kind of interesting. There they showed all the crowd, everybody gathering around to get into the field house. And then something really strange. They showed the team, the Fever women, walking in. And they were dressed to the nines, folks. I mean, you talk about haute couture. They had a setup, a set for them to stand in there and taking pictures, the whole thing. And that was part of the big deal they were doing. So finally, when the game started around 3:30. But it turns out it was the second game of a doubleheader. That's right, second game. So the first game, the Liberty versus Las Vegas, apparently was the warm-up for the second game, which was the Fever. Well, here's the deal. It ended up to be one heck of a game. As it turns out, it was a blowout in a lot of ways, 93-58. And Caitlin Clark, she did something in the very first game of their second season, hit a triple-double. And it wasn't her first, it was her third. But the first game of the season, a triple-double. And that's kind of interesting, though, what they were doing there. I mean, it was an incredible play. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Now, her archenemy, Angel Reese, had 12 points and 17 rebounds, shot 5 for 14. Not very good. But another interesting thing happened. Duwana Bonner, lady who'd been playing for 15 years in the WNBA, she was about to move into third place in the all-time scoring thing, and everybody's waiting for that to happen. Well, anyway, she gets fouled. She goes to the free throw line, shooting 2 shots. One would tie her with the person who was in third place, and the second, if she made it, would put her ahead of that person, put her in third place. She hit them both. Crowd roared their approval. That was something to see, folks. There were incidences going on, but the thing that made the game cool was it was a passing exhibition. I mean, there were moves, there were plays. Yeah, it ain't perfect. It's first game of the season. But you're sitting there going, man, this was entertaining. And that's the point. This game was very entertaining to see. And some little side things going on with all this. Caitlin Clark, well, turns out a grocery chain in the Midwest called Hy-Vee. And I don't think we have them around here in Indiana, but Hy-Vee is over there in the Midwest, Iowa area. They got a breakfast cereal with their name on it. Boxes were selling for $5 a pop at the grocery store. People were buying them up in droves, like buying toilet paper when they said there was going to be a shortage. Ended up being sold on eBay for like $25 to $30 for the same box. That's what people were doing. Now, the coach of the Fever, her name was White, she's been coaching for a long time. She's from Indiana. She was a Miss Basketball, so she knows what she's doing. And going against the coach of Chicago, his name was Tyler Marsh. Tyler Marsh earlier said, hey, we got the idea, we know what the weakness of the Fever, we're going to exploit that, we're going to beat them hands down. How'd that work out? Not too well. It was one interesting game, but here's the other thing. Of the 44 games, 41 of the 44 games of the Fever are now going to be broadcast nationwide TV, so people can see it everywhere around the United States. And people are flocking to go see this. And now, people like me were watching it. I don't know what the Nielsen's or the ratings are going to show, how many people watch this game on a Saturday afternoon. I can't tell you. But I can tell you this. It was something to behold. So you've got the Pacers now playing for a chance to win the NBA championship. And the Indianapolis Fever having a chance to win one game, having a chance to win the WNBA championship. But right now, they showed that they're pretty doggone good. They got some good players, some great class, and man, they know how to move a basketball. And I'll tell you right now, I have nothing against the pro game, but the ladies, they're actually playing basketball. Can't dunk it. All you can do is pass it, look for a shot, and do a layup, or else put that long three in, and they did all that stuff. It was interesting to watch, folks. The crowd loved it. Looks like the crowd's going to be back. And their jersey sales for Miss Caitlin Clark exceeds anything the NBA, the NFL, or anybody else has seen. She's a phenom. Maybe a phenom kind of like the old Michael Jordan back in the 90s, who I like to watch. And now, her team's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I mean, what more do you want? Phenom, great team, great athletes. They all look incredibly good. Very attractive ladies. I don't care what you think. And there they are. The Indianapolis Fever. First game, 93-58 blowout. And guess what? Most of the rest of the games you're going to see on national TV. So, good luck to them. Congratulations to them. And it looks like the summer ain't going to be all that boring this year. We'll actually have something to watch. And that will be the WNBA. There's a term that we live with in this country called freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, First Amendment kind of stuff. Well, except in one case, it may be not quite the freedom that you think. Let's say you work for a company and they tell you, hey, you've got to wear the official company shirt. You go into certain restaurants or things like that, everybody's wearing the same shirt. You go to a big box store and everybody may be wearing the same shirt. Well, it identifies you, lets you know you're a worker bee at that place. And frankly, in certain organizations that people are in, you wear the shirt rather because you're proud of that organization you're in. Well, it turns out that about 75 Starbucks coffee shops in the United States have gone on strike. Yeah, that's right, they have gone on strike representing around 1,000 workers, which is about 1% of the, 10,000 Starbucks workers that exist in America. Well, they've gone on strike because they don't like the fact they've been chosen that there's a new company policy involving what you're wearing, your clothes, if you will, and what you're allowed to wear. So they're striking over what they're allowed to wear. Figure that one out. And remember, it's the company. they're working for a company, a private company that says, here's the deal. And to make things even more interesting, the company is going to give them 2 free shirts that say Starbucks on them. Now they're saying, okay, we want you to wear a black shirt, and you can wear black, you can wear khakis, you can wear denims, you wear black, but, and the green apron, the Starbucks green apron, identify you as a Starbucks employee. And there you're out there, getting people their $10 lattes or whatever people drink at Starbucks. I don't know, because I, A, don't drink coffee, and B, even if I did, I wouldn't go to a Starbucks. It's called a percolator. Make your own. Well, anyway, so this 1,000 employees are complaining, and by the way, they happen to be 1,000 union shop workers. It's called the Starbucks Workers Union, and about a certain very, very small number of members of the Starbucks employees have created their own union. Of course, they don't have a contract because they haven't been able to negotiate a contract with Starbucks, simply because there's only 1,000 people out of the 10,000 that work for Starbucks. Well, of course, the union then complains to the National Labor Relations Board saying, how dare they do that to us? But here's the thing about this. If you're told to, here's the company uniform, here's the company outfit you wear. I mean, how many times do you go to certain, fast food restaurants and they're wearing the little shirt, the little hat, the little whatever it is? They have to wear that because that's part of the company uniform. You sign on with the company, you wear what the company tells you to wear. It's your look. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. And if the company is willing to give you 2 free shirts, I'm going, hey, I don't have to go out and buy shirts. So they're saying, well, we don't like that because we want to wear what we want to wear. Well, here's where you get in the problem. You get some people with those BLM shirts and gay pride shirts and any I can think of different shirts that say different things, and some of them aren't exactly nice. They say some pretty offensive things, either on the front or the back. And it may offend some of the customers in there. And your job is not to offend the customers. Your job is to take their money, much of it as you could possibly get, and give them a damn cup of coffee. Now, the way I see it is, the other remaining Starbucks stores, they're all following the rules. Free T-shirts and everything else. But these 1,000 union stores, 75 stores around the nation, and they're going, we don't like what we're told to wear. Well, if you don't like what you're told to wear, then my suggestion is find another coffee shop you could go work at. Find the one who will allow you to be expressive and look the way you want and act the way you want, because apparently Starbucks is saying they're concerned about their bottom line, their customers, and ultimately their shareholders. It's just an observation, folks. But those 1,000 employees who are demanding to wear what they want to wear, you work for a private company. They have every right to tell you the outfit that you're going to wear representing the company is the outfit you're going to wear to represent the company. And they really don't have a contract with the NLRB or the contract with anybody. They're out there alone, just thinking they can run the rodeo. Well, at Starbucks or in any other company, they're the boss. And as long as they sign your checks, you are beholden to the boss. Well, do you remember a ways back when Pam Bondi was nominated to be the head of the Justice Department? Well, she was nominated all right, but boy, she had to fight her way through Congress. Democrats put up a real big tussle against her, did everything in their possibility ways to try to keep her off being the Attorney General. She made it anyway. But one of the things she said that she wanted to get done was to find out what was going on in the Jeffrey Epstein case. And she said, we're going to get down to this. We're going to get the evidence. She ended up saying, we're having to try to get the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York, to give up all the evidence that has involving Jeffrey Epstein. As a matter of fact, they had to send agents from the FBI, had to go up to New York Southern District and literally go through the files and pull out everything that, the Southern District wasn't willing to hand over to Pam Bondi. And apparently they found a whole lot of stuff they didn't know about. Well, they've been combing through it for about weeks. I know I just saw them talking about it on TV on Maria Bartiromo's show, saying, hey, we're trying to get this stuff out. We got a whole lot of stuff there. We got to go through it and figure out who the innocent people are, protecting people and everything else. We want to get out the information on Jeffrey Epstein. But here's the bigger question. Who do you think was the U.S. attorney in New York that was responsible for all that evidence that the FBI had to go up and fight their way to get through it to where it was hiding? Want to know who it was? The U.S. attorney of the Southern District of New York is, are you ready? The daughter of James Comey. Maureen Comey. The daughter of James Comey is the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. Bet you didn't know that. She was the one who was responsible for the Ghislaine Maxwell case that put her in jail and ultimately, well, had all the other evidence involving Mr. Epstein himself. And yet, when Pam Bondi said, I want all the evidence, they had to send FBI agents up to New York to get it, find it, pull it down, and go through it. They said, there's stuff here we didn't believe. Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter. She's been in this position since 2013. Graduate of, I believe it's Harvard. Like who isn't? At least in that particular strata of individuals. But the daughter of James Comey. Does it surprise you in any way, shape, or form that just maybe she has a reason for not wanting that information to be released? I'm just saying she did the Ghislaine Maxwell case, prosecuted that. A lot of stuff didn't come out there that probably could have come out, was never introduced to the trial. So, what we have now is something we didn't know before. The attorney of the Southern District of New York was none other than James' daughter, the same former FBI director who found shells in the sand saying 8647 and didn't know what they meant. Everybody on television, all the media, and all the political pundits are going, what? He didn't know? Some very high-powered people said, he didn't know? Well, a whole lot of folks are saying that there's no way you didn't know. But if you're going to plead stupidity or plead innocence, I didn't know, because how can you prove it? So there you go, folks. The head of the U.S. attorney in New York City is the daughter of James Comey. Now that might explain why they had so much trouble getting the evidence on Jeffrey Epstein and the names of people involved with his, sex racketeering and sex, whatever he was doing. And now we may begin to find out who were the people involved, and could that destroy a lot of careers? Could that destroy many folks in Washington? Could that destroy a whole lot of folks? Apparently, it could. Let's just see now what Pam Bondi and the FBI decides to release to you and me, so we know exactly what was going on in the world of Jeffrey Epstein and why it was being hidden by the U.S. attorney from New York, Maureen Comey, James Comey's daughter. Now you know. I don't know how many of you watch a TV show on ABC weekday mornings called The View. Whoopi Goldberg and a whole bunch of other folks. Joy Behar, you know her. Sonny Hostin, that's the one I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But anyway, the show runs weekdays on ABC. Most people who watch it are either, retired or unemployed. At least that's as near as I can tell, because the rest of us are at work. But anyway, recently they had former President Joe Biden as their guest. And it was in the morning when they filmed it, and he was relatively cogent. And he was talking about the previous election, and he indicated the reason that Kamala Harris did not win the election is because Americans are sexist. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden said Americans are sexist. Now, not even him. And then Sonny Hostin went on and said Americans, U.S., we're misogynistic. Well, that's a nice way of saying we're all racist. We don't like women. And she said that, and here's what she went on to say. She said, the nation has twice failed to elect a female president. And she said that's not right because it's misogynistic people in the United States, and men won't elect a woman. Well, I might beg to differ. She said, well, you had Hillary Rodham in 2016. She didn't win, and she was supposed to win. She was a lousy candidate, folks, and America figured that one out. She would have been dangerous. And then, of course, Kamala Harris. Talk about somebody totally unqualified. But these women are all complaining. Well, every other country in the world, they elect women to be their leaders. America isn't, because America is misogynistic and sexist. Well, allow me to counter that with just a tad. Are there women capable of being a president in this country? My answer is yes, very much so. And here's an example of people who I think have a possibility or could be president, at least those of us who are regular Americans who vote and we're concerned about our country and our country being safe. Probably the one I would go with was a former Secretary of State. That's right, not Secretary of State under George Bush. None other than Condoleezza Rice. Concert pianist, sharp as a tack. I mean, you ever seen that woman talk? She knows her stuff. Well, now she's a big dean at Stanford. She likes doing what she's doing, but she has been everywhere and done everything, and she's about one of the smartest cookies I've seen. Would she be a great president? Would I vote for her? Yeah, would. Certainly would. Now, there's other women out there that would be pretty good, too. Let's go with, you could take Nikki Haley. All right, Nikki Haley, former governor. She was thinking about running for president and didn't. She was beaten out by Donald Trump. But Nikki Haley, she was ambassador to the UN, former governor of state. She's also a pretty doggone sharp cookie. Do I think she has presidential capabilities? The answer to that is yes, she does. Now, there's some other names you can bring up. You could write Kristi Noem, Dakotas. She's the one we can't elect her, she kills her dog. Sharp little lady. But let's go back to the situation where these ladies, their name is Sunny Hostin, this is on The View, was complaining that women couldn't be elected president of the United States. Well, let's go back to 2008. John McCain was running for president at that time. His vice president was none other than former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. Now, you may not like Sarah Palin, but people on The View and the Democrats said, we cannot elect John McCain because Sarah Palin could become president in a heartbeat. So they were fighting against a woman being president because it was Sarah Palin. Now think about that for a second. They were saying we couldn't elect John McCain because Sarah Palin, she could be president. We can't have that. And yet you could have Hillary Rodham, you could have Kamala, but Sarah Palin, no, you can't have her. Now, so if you're wondering who might be your next president for you Democrats out there, here they are. Here is your 2028 presidential candidates, AOC and the lovely Jasmine Crockett from Texas. You want women on the ticket? In 2028, it now appears that these two ladies are the strongest hope you have for the presidency in 2028. So, you ladies on The View, if you want a female to be president, you get a dual package. You get both president and vice president. AOC president and Jasmine Crockett as vice president. What more could you ask for, America?